In the beginning, there was nothing but darkness. And God one day looked out over the darkness in a booming voice, announced, "Today is the day of creation." While Missy and Bill's mom paid for the groceries, Mr. Richards, the store manager, walked over and said, "I've watched you since you came into the store. You have such good manners." Hi guys, welcome back to another vlog. This morning was so weird. I woke up at 6 o'clock this morning with the intention of doing my quiet time and doing a workout. I decided to do the workout second. So I did my quiet time, and then afterwards I just felt this weird sensation like I just needed to sleep, which is so weird because I went to bed at 11 and I woke up at 6. So I was not particularly tired, but I just felt like I needed to sleep. I just felt like I needed to sleep. So by that time the kids had gotten up already as well. I made them breakfast. Thankfully Ibrahim did not have any early morning appointments, so he stayed with the kids and I slept until like 9 o'clock in the morning. That was so strange. But now we have a busy day ahead of us. I have a long to-do list that I set out last night. Apparently I was too ambitious because with my late 9 o'clock start, I'm definitely not gonna get anything done. But as you saw, we did quiet time, which I have to talk to you guys about that. We did, I had breakfast, and then we've been doing a few chores around the house. So I'm cooking lunch currently, doing a load of laundry, and then the house is pretty messy, so I need to clean that up, give the girls and myself a shower, and then we can move into the afternoon part of our day. Bye. Alright guys, so everything is pretty much done for the day. I still have a few things on my to-do list that I need to get done. I needed to run an errand today, but thankfully Ibrahim got home just as I was about to go out, so he took the kids, and now I have just a few minutes so that I can chat with you guys. And I just wanted to talk to you guys about something that has been on my mind a lot lately, something that my husband and I have been chatting a lot about since our oldest is 3, almost 4, and it's something that we've been encountering a lot. And so I just wanted to have a little discussion with you guys, let you know where we are, and just have an idea of where you guys are. What are you guys thinking about this? And hopefully we can have like a chat, exchange in the comments section. So I wanted to talk to you guys about screen time and kids specifically. And I want to know, how are you guys handling screen time and kids? So as our daughters have been getting older, screen time has been becoming more and more of a thing. Yeah, so I needed to change locations because the lighting over there was horrible. But anyways, where was I? I was saying that screen time is something that can be good but can also be really bad, and there are lots and lots of studies that show that we spend sometimes even a third of our time on our phones or watching screens. I think it's a third of our life. I'll put the statistics on the screen if I'm wrong. And then there's also other studies showing that excessive screen time is very damaging for us as well as the kids. So it's impairing cognitive function, creativity is less, and all of those other things. So for my family, my husband and I, we really want to have ongoing conversations in terms of the use of screen time. Now, thankfully, I was just telling Ibrahim that the other day. I feel like we are on two different sides, and thankfully, we're able to communicate and both express how we feel and meet somewhere in the middle. I'm definitely the type of person that's as little screen time as possible. If I could not have a TV in the house, I definitely would. And he is definitely more into screens. He thinks that they're wonderful. They can be a very good tool, and he's more lenient towards screen time. So thankfully, we're able to meet in the middle, but we do overall have the same principle, which is that screen time is a tool. It should be used wisely, and we need to have ongoing conversations about how exactly and what we're using it for. So I would just like to share with you some of the ways that we have decided to go about screen time in our family, and hopefully you guys can have I'm not saying that we're doing this perfectly, but it's just like a jumping point so that you guys have things that you can talk to your partner about. Because I really think that if the two raising the child, if there are two in the household, if two are not on the same wavelength, then it might be difficult to set rules, etc., in terms of how it's used. So this is hopefully a jumping point for conversation with your partner, and so that you can give your point of view to us as well in the comments below. And maybe Ibrahim and I could probably do an entire podcast, because I'm dying to start a podcast with him, but like a video just about screen time, because there's so much to talk about, guys. But I'm not going to talk too long. This is a vlog after all. But some principles that we're guiding or we're using as guides. The first one is that we believe that in order to set good practices, the kids are back already. In order to set good practices, we need to have good practices ourselves. So we don't want to be the type of parents that insist that they can't use the phone, they can't watch TV, but we're doing that. We want to be able to set an example. So that's principle number one. Another thing that we've done is that we have set specific times. So screen time is at a very specific time in our house, and I find that has helped a lot with the constant requests. So if your kids are anything like mine, especially the oldest one, she's always asking to watch something, always. But that when we set a specific time, we found that the request for screen time has decreased quite a bit. So for us, screen time is allowed only after lunch. My time is short here, so we'll discuss this when they go to bed. But screen time is allowed only after lunch. So for example, she'll wake up in the morning and like, Mom, can I watch a show? And I say, when do we watch TV? She says, after lunch. I say, have you had your lunch yet? And she says no, and that's the end of the conversation. Sometimes she's a little bit insistent, and if she is, I simply tell her, screen time is after lunch, and if you ask again, you will not be able to watch screen time anymore, and that usually solves the problem as well. But I find that having a consistent time for screen time works wonders. Hi, are you back?
Yeah.
You're back, boo boo.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy your trip with your daddy?
Yeah.
Yeah? It's time for bed. Do you have money?
Yeah, for you.
Oh, where you get the money from?
Can you take it for me?
Another thing that we have set is that there are very specific shows that our kids are allowed to watch. I find that the kids shows these days, they cut to different screens very often. They are very loud, very entertaining, not a lot educational, although there are very good educational shows. But I do find that
Mommy, I want to watch now. Go take my tablet.
no, we're not using the tablet right now. You can watch something on the TV. No, tablet is after quiet time.
Okay.
So very specific shows, I was saying. So I do not like shows that every 2-3 seconds there's something different. I think it reduces the ability to concentrate. What's that?
Go put myself.
Yes, you can put it on yourself.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you should wait until Katie goes to bed. So we have very specific shows. So for example, Coco Melon, Paw Patrol, all of those things, they don't watch that. Quite honestly, I don't like them. And some of the Peppa Pig, some of the characters are so rude. And another thing that I find is that a lot of the characters, they show a lot of sibling rivalry. So the characters are always at loggerheads with their siblings, and I feel like when you watch that constantly, it sets you up for the expectation that, you know, siblings are supposed to fight and siblings don't get along. So we don't allow any of those shows in our house. We give them options. So for now, we really like Daniel Tiger. We also like Bluey. We watch The Magic School Bus, Little Bear. And so we give them an option. You can watch this or you can watch that. If she says, I don't want to watch any of them, I said, that's fine. You can put the TV off. Usually she chooses one and she enjoys it. And then another thing that we do is that we try to vary it. So it's not all the time that she's watching a kid's show. Oh, Ibrahim, would you like to talk with them about our principles for screen time? Yeah, I think so. Good. All right, so I got Mr. Man to join me. If you're watching for the first time, this is my husband, Ibrahim. And basically, I was talking about screen time because on Sunday, we had a really long conversation. We have a weekly meeting, and on Sunday, we were just discussing some of the parameters that we wanted set for screen time. So the few things that I mentioned so far was that one, screen time is a tool. It's not inherently evil. It's not like, we don't want our kids to watch TV or use a tablet. It's just that we are painfully aware of the side effects of it, and we want them to be able to grow up using it well.
To control it and to be responsible.
And one of the things that I didn't mention was that, like, this is a new topic. Like, our parents didn't have to deal with teaching us about screen time or anything like that, because to me, at least for me, when I got my first phone, I was like 13, 14, and some people
at
even
least
later.
At this age, because maybe screen time was a conversation in terms of television, but probably older as an adolescent, not for 2,
but
3,
nowadays
4,
you have
5 year olds.
9, 10-year-olds getting phones, and then you have the 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds watching TV. So it's something new, and I was saying that the idea is not that we have it all figured out, but so that whatever we mention could be a jumping point for them to start thinking about it, to have a conversation with their spouse about it. So I said that it's a tool, it's not inherently evil. And I brought up the fact that as Christian parents, you know, the Bible but tells us that we should think of whatever is pure, whatever is good, whatever is excellent, think on these things. And that by extension involves what you consume with your media. So not only do you have to be concerned with when you watch and how long you watch, but the content of what you're watching, and that also filters down to what you allow your kids to watch.
Most importantly,
And so I was telling them that there were certain principles that we follow, and then I had already mentioned 3 of them. The first one was that we have to be an example ourselves. Like, we can't be telling them, oh, you cannot watch TV the whole day, and we ourselves are watching TV the whole day. I said that we have specific times, and literally while I was saying that, Bella was asking me if she could watch something. That's when you guys came in. I was talking about specific times. I was saying that we only allow them to watch it after lunch, and using the tablet is after quiet time.
Yes.
And I was saying that really has curtailed how often she asks for it, because now that she has a very specific time, she knows, even if she may have put in a request here and there, she doesn't throw a fit if we say no, because she knows there's a specific time
for it. And on some days she actually doesn't ask for it at all. So.
And that's exactly the kind of relationship that we want our kids to have with technology. We want them to be able to use it, enjoy it, even if it's just for entertainment and not necessarily for educational purposes, but not to become a slave to it, that they want it all the time and that they can't do anything else. Yeah, we want them to enjoy things that we enjoyed as a childhood: playing outside, coloring, painting, playing games with each other and mommy and daddy, inventing and pretending this and that. Not just to have like a screen all the time and be so dependent on it for, you know, like entertainment.
And this is not just old-fashionedness. It's actually essential for their development as children.
Yeah, I was telling them that, sorry to cut you short, I was telling them that there are actually studies that have shown that excessive screen time is detrimental for the cognitive function of the kids, their intellectual ability, how it affects their creativity and their imagination. Like there are studies that show that too much of it is just not a good thing.
Yeah, it's and the reason why the those studies that focus on screen time and all of those things that talk about it is essentially it curtails play, and play is essential in a child. When a child is growing up, they have to play, and that activity of playfulness, curiosity, to be able to go outside, to be bored, right? They have to be bored. So that's how they invent games, right? They just pick up random two things. That's how they role play as well. Pick up a thing and they come to you and be like, this is a truck, and it's not a truck, it's just a piece of stone. And they can just invent their own play. Why? Because they're bored. But now we don't actually give our kids that luxury of being bored. It's almost like they have to be, watching something the entire time. You just have to be bored sometimes. That's how you get creative with your play, and that's an imaginative friend. And imagine talking to a doll or role playing with, like Kitty trying to change pampers and pretend play. Like all of those things are good for function and development in terms of brain-wise, intellectually, cognitive, logic, functioning, and all of those things. And one of the things, and so that's one of the key areas. I don't know if you spoke about this. One of the key areas for me is that the use of screens and technology usually is equated to entertainment kind of stuff. So either it's a show or playing of games, and that there has to be a cutoff, a switch between that, because at the end of the day, these screens, the phone, the tablets, the TV, they're tools, right? But if all they used for is just for entertainment and for just kind of babysitting the child, just put in front of the child sits down, just zoned out, just watching, consuming, without any them being stimulated, brain-wise, and being stimulated to want to play, to want to be creative, that's what's bad.
So we have a tablet that was principally used just to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star when they go to bed, but now she wants to watch shows and that kind of thing. And so initially, when Ibrahim and I discussed it, one of the points that he brought out was that he wanted her to know that the tablet can be used for a lot of other things besides just watching shows. So what we decided to do was remove YouTube, because our children are not having free access to YouTube. One, not even YouTube Kids. They don't have access to YouTube on there.
Yes, disabled. You can disable some of these things.
And what we wanted to, like, when she does have the tablet, she can go into pictures and look at our pictures. She can go into, like, there's a writing app where you can literally use your finger to paint.
Canva.
The map, she likes going into the maps and looking at different parts of the world. But we're not going to allow her to watch shows on the tablet. And that is our idea behind that, is just so that she knows that the tablet can be used as a tool for other things besides, just entertainment. At first, we had put a few apps, like the kids app that does 1, 2, 3 and ABCs, and I think she's too young for that. I feel like
the problem with those apps, I tried to find some, but they mostly focus on, is the same thing, mostly entertainment. They're very heavy on the gratifying part of it, or the songs and it just becomes another
entertainment
rather than engaging the child, because they're young, maybe
I found that
kids,
the more she did the ABCs on the tablet, the less she wanted to do her actual ABCs
on the books,
which she enjoys. She enjoys writing and doing her ABCs and her 1, 2, 3s on actual paper. But the more she did it on the tablet, the less she wanted to do it on the paper. So I was like, no, I think she's too young now. We deleted all of the children's.
There's only one ABC now apps. I have just put. She hasn't even used it yet. It's Khan Academy, but it's not ABC. So I don't know if you'll even like it, because it's more like for teachers and stuff. So you go there, it has books on it. I literally just installed it this morning. So that's something I'm going to try and see. But it's very hard to get something that you can say at this age at least.
Yeah, I just think that at 2, 3 years old, I don't see honestly the benefit of the kids apps.
Yeah, but the key is you want to avoid anything or any app or any distraction screens where they're just sitting down like zombies, staring at it, and then somebody passes in front of them and they're like, or they put it off and they're screaming down the place. No, that for me is a no-no. Which is why even when we do TV, I don't really had stopped using
that's exactly
YouTube.
The point that I was on. What's like there are specific shows that they're allowed to watch.
Right.
And I was telling them that we don't do Coco Melon, we don't do
Absolutely
Paw
not.
Patrol, Peppa Pig. I hate Peppa Pig. She's so rude.
I mean, some people like it, but we don't do those ones. You see the Coco Melon ones? The YouTube, most of the YouTube video kids, I find that
they're very fast, they're very changing.
They're dopamine heavy.
Yes.
They're very dopamine heavy. Video is very dopamine heavy.
So
even the new...
what we found with respect to the dopamine heavy thing is that if she's watching like those shows, if you pass in front of her, she gets upset. If you ask her to do something while she's watching it, she doesn't want to. Whereas if we're watching a movie together or like a Discovery show or something like that, she engages with the video and the persons around her. So she'll say, "Mommy, what's that?" or "What are they doing?" And she talks, or she's able to leave it and go and get water and come back. But the other YouTube ones, like she's a zombie. She just sits there and she just watches it and she cannot take her eyes off of it.
They get too sucked up.
I don't like that.
No, they get too sucked up in the movement, the flashing lights, like the editing and the songs, like. So I found that you think that they're supposed to be learning, but in reality they're not. They're just enjoying a show.
It's passive. Actually, I was reading a book. You remember I shared with you? It's a book about classical education, and they were saying that there's actually research that shows that when you read, for example, your brain is actually translating symbol into something that's coherent, something that you can understand. Whereas when you watch a video, it's very passive. Your brain is... there's a different part of your brain that you're using to watch a video versus when you're doing something like reading or writing or creating something. And so that part of the brain is active when you're doing those things, but when you're watching a video, it's very passive. So it's literally like you're not doing anything. And I'm not saying that a child cannot learn from watching TV, because
they can.
I know people who learn to speak Spanish by just watching TV or that kind of thing.
Can. You just have to choose
but
the different things, and maybe maybe for your child, maybe it might be different things. You just have to watch and see. Which is why at the end of the day, you have to. That's why we're saying some of the things that we've noticed. That's what I noticed in terms of whenever they watch those YouTube Cocomelon stuff. Like there was not a lot of, in my opinion, like at the end of the day, you still ask them, what were you watching, or what were you watching on the TV, and they can't really articulate or explain. So it almost feels like, okay, they just sat down there and were entertained, but there's nothing, and you don't want too much of that at that age.
Yeah, but there are a few, like I was saying, there are a few shows that I think that satisfies the child in them, but are a little more appropriate. I think Bluey, Daniel Tiger, they have storylines. The Magic School Bus, they're slow developing, and they have a storyline behind it. And a lot of them, the values behind what's in the show is actually really good. So there are specific shows. And the other thing that I wanted to mention was that we try to give them a variety of things to watch. So it's not always like Daniel Tiger or always Bluey or always Discovery, but like a variety. So one day she could watch a YouTube video about, let's say we saw something about pigs and she wanted to know more about pigs, we would put something that we found on YouTube about pigs. Another day it would be like a Disney Plus movie that we vetted and we think is okay. Another day it's a show. Another day it's a documentary that we found on National Geographic or something. But we try to keep it varied so that she knows that TV is not just pure dull entertainment. Yeah, you can watch something just for the fun of it, but then you can also watch something that's educational, something that satisfies your curiosity and stuff like that.
And that's a very unpopular opinion, in terms of, not just sticking to kids shows. And I'm really big on that, especially, like the documentaries, especially animal or nature documentaries. That's other things they could watch, and there's a narrator, and the narrator is talking, and they learn to listen, like as in listening as a skill, and going through the different things, and just they come back, and then sometimes we read in a story, and then we read a story about an animal, like the other time we read about the octopus, and then a couple of days ago we went and we were watching like a 10-minute video of an octopus just going around, and the narrator was talking about octopus, and they were so intrigued of all of these things, and it's fun too. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be a cartoon or those things. I mean, there's other things that can be
and there's
done that they can watch as well and enjoy.
A phrase that I read just the other day. It's called oh my gosh, I think it says, familiarity breeds enjoyment. And so what it was trying to say was that the more you are familiar with something, the more you enjoy it. So if, for example, watching Discovery is not something that your child is used to, and so they don't enjoy it, but I think that the more you introduce it to them, maybe they may not sit down to watch like an entire 30 minutes, but it's played for 5 minutes, and 5 minutes several times a week. After a little while, when something becomes familiar, then you actually begin to enjoy it. So
kids are always fascinated by animals.
Yeah, they are.
Animals are always fascinated, and there's so many. You put ocean ones and different. So it's just another thing, something else that they could,
watch
besides just kids shows. And we definitely use that a lot. Sometimes, because we have the books, the astronomy books, the Earth, the Moon, they're interested in those things. There was a time where we could not go out at night without them everywhere we passed. The moon, the moon, the moon. So, then you put a physics movie, documentary about, the moon and the Earth and all of these things, and it's very, very fun, and it can be very good. Geography, and you think, they're little children, yeah, but I mean, once it's not too much, it's not too long, it's always fun, and it's something different.
That's actually another principle that I would say that we work with, which is to provide alternatives. So for us I don't think it would be fair to limit screen time and to not have them have other things to do that they enjoy. So I'm very big on providing alternatives for them besides watching TV. So for one of the things is books. Both my husband and myself, we love to read, and we think that reading is a vital skill. We think that it has numerous benefits, and so we want our kids to really be book fanatics, to enjoy reading just as much as we did. And I think that the only way you can successfully do that is by reading them really good stories that suck them in, and they want to read. So we have a lot of books. I'm always buying books. We have a lot of variety. We have books about famous artists and paintings. We have a book about trees. We have a book about animals. We have books about the medieval ages. Then we have like storybooks that rhyme, some that are short, some that are small, picture books, chapter books. I'm always buying books because I just want our house to be filled with books so that there's an alternative to watching TV. We also have open-ended toys like this ice cream set that I'm watching in front of us that they pretend all the time. We have magnet tiles, we have a train set, we have lots of crayons and paint and coloring books and stuff like that.
And if you have an older kid, playing cards. So that's something me and Bella does.
We have board games that we play with them. I mean, he plays Uno, not exactly how you would play it with them, but it's
you could use any normal card, but you just once they know their colors and they know their numbers,
you can play.
You can teach them to play cards, and it's quite fun.
We have other board games that are like child suited. We have like a monkey game. We also have like a squirrel game that's suited for like a 3-year-old-ish that we play with them. What else do we have? He recently started teaching how to play chess.
I wouldn't call it teaching how to play chess, huh?
It's a start.
Well, I don't know how to play chess, so I barely know the basics. So both of us are learning. We played checkers the other day.
We have chess, we have checkers, we have board games. So there are lots of things that our kids can do besides watching TV. We make them play outside. We don't have a lot of outdoor space, but we make what we have work, and we have a bicycle, we have a balance bike. The point is that they cannot say that they're bored and they have nothing to do.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that it's not that we just send them to do it. I mean, there are times when we're busy and we have things that we're doing.
And especially now she has a sister, sometimes they do play together.
No, but I think it's important that you as a parent
engage
enjoy
with them as well.
time with them as well, and that they see you enjoying other things besides the TV. So I think it's important
Or the
that
phone.
So
you send them to play and then you sitting on your phone doing something else. And
so you need to be able to put down the phone and pick up a book. If you don't like a book, if you don't like to read, that's fine. Maybe you paint or you color or something that is not the phone. They need to see that, yes, mommy and daddy doesn't want me to watch the phone so much, but they're not
on the phone
on it
all
either,
the time.
because you're sending a conflicting message if you are always on the phone or always have the TV on and you're not allowing them to use it. So that's another principle that we talk about. Another one is that we do not use phones and tablets when we're outside. So for example, when we go on a long drive, when we go to a restaurant, we do not use a tablet as a form of entertainment so that the kids are quiet or that they don't make noise or anything like that. It's hard. I think it's a lot easier to be sitting at a restaurant table and just plop something in front of them so that they sit still and be quiet. But I think it's more beneficial to engage with the child, to talk with them about what's going on. Bella and I, we play I Spy a lot. I say I spy something that's yellow, and she looks around to see what's yellow. Sometimes we bring like a book or something that keeps them entertained while they're waiting for their food or waiting for whatever. But it's never our phones or it's never an electronic, and that has worked well for us, especially when we travel, for example.
We traveled and we took
and
the long
kids
drive.
We were driving for a long time, we were on the plane for a long time. I mean, it's not above us. If it's really bad and we need to use it, we do.
But here's the thing. Again, it's not the only thing to do. Like there's all of these other things that can be done. So yes, like for example, when we were in the plane, they did watch some things with the screen that was on the plane, but it was not the only thing that was done. So they were able to plug in the headphones, watch a show or two on the phone, on the plane, but at the same time they were able to take pictures, engage with play with us, color, because we came with some, all of those things as well. Look outside, talk about clouds and the plane and the engine and all.
And more importantly, they didn't throw a tantrum when it was
off. So again, the idea is to not to get a child that's going to be addicted to these things, but they're able to just use it and then so it's just something else that's there. And if you have these varieties, you might realize that within a 3-day or 4-day period, even if they do maybe spend an hour or so watching TV every one of those days, you might realize only one of those days they will spend watching a kids show. Maybe some of it's interspersed. Sometimes other times they're watching maybe some animals there or farm there or different things there. So it really becomes holistic and it doesn't get them too addicted.
And the thing I would say though is that it takes a lot of discipline more on the part of the parent than it does on the child. I think that setting boundaries with the child is actually very easy. The hard part is you as a parent being disciplined, because putting a child in front of a TV when you want to get something done around the house is a lot easier than engaging with the child. It's a lot easier to just plop them in front of the TV because we've done it. Like if there's something that we really need to get done and we cannot deal with an interruption for a time, we will put the TV on, let Bella watch something that she enjoys, and she would probably stay there an hour, maybe 2 hours if we left her.
Especially when Bella was younger and she was by herself. She didn't have a sister. Sometimes it got rough, and and that times when both of us were working and we were doing 24-hour calls, and sometimes you're tired, it can get very, very rough, tempting. And sometimes it's just so tempting to just put them in front of the TV and play something for them and they can just watch.
Which is why it is really a test of your discipline as a parent to be able to steward it well for them, because it takes discipline on the parents' part to put down your phone and pick up something else so that they see. It takes discipline on your part to be consistent and say no. You know, TV is after school or after you do your homework every single day when you're tired and you really wish that they would just sit down for 5 minutes.
And a little bit of hard work as well, and repetition. Because like you're saying, those times when you go out, you're out with the kids and they're sitting down, rather than just give them something to entertain them, you know, you have to engage them because they will get bored. So you have to entertain them, you have to talk to them. So if you're in a restaurant or you're out somewhere, you're constantly going to be answer, and you're constantly going to be repeating yourself. And when they reach an age where they're going to be asking why for everything,
yeah. So in other words, it takes work. It takes work. It's not easy, but it can be done. And I think the longer you do it, the more natural and the easier it becomes. Yeah. So like it's just known as part of your family culture that screens is just not a priority for us, that books are, or whatever the case. Like it just,
and there's other things. So now they have other options. So now, for example, if they're bored or I need to do something, one of the things I don't necessarily think, oh, I could put the TV and they could just watch. Like there's other things that could literally capture their attention as well as the TV. In fact, both of them, because maybe if you put the TV, maybe Bella, the older one, will watch, but the younger one is not too interested. So, you know, you haven't really done much. But there are certain things or games or activities that they could do that will capture both of their attention better than even the TV does. So, and they get used to it.
Yeah,
they get used to it more than you think. Oh, they might not be able to live without this, but they get used to it.
It's a culture that you create, and it's anyways, we'll get to that as the last thing we say. But the other thing that I wanted to say, the other principle that we work on is that using screen is a privilege for us in our family. That's what we tell the kids, that it's a privilege, it's not a need, it's not a right, so it can be taken away. So if we find, for example, we've done a week fast, for example, of no screens when we thought that, okay, she was just too much into this, throwing fits when she had to put it off and all of that kind of thing. When we thought it was just too much, we would take it away for an entire week sometimes, or in a day, you know, if she's being extremely difficult or being disobedient, or, you know, like she's really giving, it's something that can be taken away if you're not behaving very well. Especially
with relation to screen time. So like throwing tantrums because you can't watch the TV, or you know,
you definitely don't get screen time if you do that.
Waking up in the morning and going on the tablet, and when you know you're told, okay, put it off and put it away. And we're talking a little bit more about the tablets for us because that's the new toy. The phone is old.
Yeah, the
phone is old.
And they don't use our phone. We don't give them our phones to watch anything.
No, but I mean, like, it's there, so they have access to it. They take it, they play with it, they put it back.
Yeah, the thing that we recently introduced is the tablet. So those are the principles that we kind of use to guide the role of screens in our home, and it's a continuous, frequent conversation, something that we're constantly revising, because you know it's part of our life now. It's not something that we desire to just completely block out and, you know, treat it like it's the enemy or anything like that. The desire is that we have kids that are responsible, who enjoy technology,
but they're able to interact with it,
and knows that there is a time and a place for it, and steward it well. That's what we want, for them to be able to steward the use of technology well. And if you are parents like us who are trying to do something similar, the first thing I would say would be to pray about it and ask God for wisdom, for guidance, for creativity in terms of how to implement those things in your home. 2, I would say to speak to your spouse about it, because if you are not on the same page, it's going to be very difficult to enforce those principles that you've set out. Because if I say no screens and he's saying you cannot screens, then kids always know when there is a division.
And I will even go further and say, it's not even just maybe you and your spouse, if that's the case, but if there's extended relatives, if the kids spend time with their grandparents and those things, or an aunt,
babysitter or something.
Yeah, or there's a babysitter that comes home, so you really want to get them all on the same page as well, because I mean you have a babysitter and the babysitter comes and all they do is just
Put the child in front of
a
the
screen for the child. That really kind of defeats the purpose. But so if it's something you notice that maybe you think it's excessive in your child, and you find they're already doing it excessively, maybe implementing all of the changes at once might not work, and you might slowly have to roll back on it.
Yeah, I would do it at once.
Well, either whatever works.
For me,
that's a separate strategy.
If you had, well, that's true. I cannot really give about a strategy for an older child, but the way I see it, right? If you have a child that you think is too obsessed, as they say, with the screen, the first thing I would do is I would sit down with the child, especially if it's an older child, 8, 9, 10, 11, you know.
Well, yeah.
I would sit down with them and let them know that, hey, I'm very concerned about something. I'm your mother. God has given me this privilege to set you on the right path, and screen time is excessive in our house and we are going to change it. And you can even say, I was wrong in the past for one, allowing you to use it so much, or I myself have not been using it well, but we are going to start a new leaf starting today or whenever. And then you lay down the rules, whether it's screen time is only done after homework, or it's only going to be watched on weekends, or it's only going to be watched for 30 minutes a day, and these are the specific shows that you can watch, or you're not allowed to use YouTube, or you're not allowed to, that kind of thing.
What if it's a younger child, 2, 3?
A younger child is easier.
Well, the keys, I feel like the keys, like you said, finding other alternatives that can be done.
No, I was going to say the harder part for a younger child is the tantrums that come if they've been used to getting it, because some of these kids can throw some really big tantrums. I've seen it in my own kids. That's the hardest part. But what I have found is that consistency, I think I said that in my last vlog, but consistency for me is what yields the biggest results. Doing it day after day after day after day after day, they get used to it, and it just becomes like that is just how the family is. That's just how they grow up. And I think the other thing is that you have to try to find a fine line. And I was telling them that is why I'm grateful for you, because I definitely lean more to the side where no screens, we can put the TV away, we can put the toilet away.
So the TV.
And then he's more like, no, they can use it, but let's get them to use it responsibly. And so between the two of us, I feel like we have a really nice balance. And so if you're a single parent or something, you have to be able to toe that fine line yourself between not making it this thing where they can't touch it, and then they're just dying to do it whenever they go to a friend's house or something like that. You want them to have access to it. It's something that's good that you can enjoy, but to use it responsibly,
like every piece of technology.
Yeah. So that's our heart behind screen time. I hope that was helpful to you. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. If you're returning, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.